bow your heads with me. Dear Heavenly Father, we come to you this morning on a beautiful rainy day. Father, just to honor you and praise you that you so rightfully deserve. Father, we just ask that you be with our county, be with our state, be with our nation, because to me we're in a state of disarray, and we just ask and pray for your guidance in all that we do. Dear Heavenly Father, we just thank you for our staff and the endless hours they log in. We thank you for our students. We ask that you be with Mr. Harris and Mr. Davidson this morning as they take precautionary measures, and just be with others that are hurting, or those that need your healing hand, Father. Now just be with us as we conduct this meeting. We ask it all in Christ's name. Amen.
Amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We'll take action to make this call meeting an official meeting and our official board retreat.
So moved.
Sorry.
Move to second.
Mr. Ellis?
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Daniel?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Ripken?
Yes, ma'am.
We have a motion to adopt the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Move to second.
Mr. Ellis?
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Daniel?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Ripken?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, our items of business, before we start the retreat, we have a COVID update.
So our numbers have been moving down for the last several days. They are down below the point where we could go a couple of levels below the distance learning. But just to be on the safe side, we're going to ready to the rescue. So we entered back into the hybrid model today, Thursday and Friday, and it is my goal to stay in the hybrid model for at least, at least 2 weeks, maybe even more, as we look at the numbers and see what our trends are going to be. There's varying opinions as to why our numbers are down, but we go by what's reported to us, and that's what we're working with. So that's where we're at right now. If you don't mind, I'm going to deviate a little bit from our posted schedule. Ms. Armstrong has some responsibilities in the schools today since we're going back, and if you don't mind, she would like to just present her a little bit of the information for the retreat at this time, if that's okay.
Well, because I said we weren't going to broadcast the retreat part, so it's this part.
That's fine. Go ahead and do this.
This part right here.
We'll take this up because she has to get back to the rules.
Okay.
You good?
Okay. The first slide, this is the slide I wanted to show you from August 21st to the 27th. I picked this slide because this was the third week of school, the third week of school, and it reflects how the data was coming in the first 2 weeks, the first 10 days, and that's why I think that's why the numbers were high. And so as the students stayed in school, I felt like the numbers started going down. That's the numbers that were reported at the very beginning. So these numbers could reflect the positive students or quarantine students before school actually started, because some of the quarantine is 10 days, some is 14, depending on the severity of the symptoms. So I just wanted to show you that is our the chart that's posted on the website, and those are the numbers that are given to the media. Nicole, can you get to that? The things I want to discuss today were the process for gathering the information for COVID data. Each school has a COVID Google spreadsheet that is shared with the school nurses, principals, myself, and Dr. Kelly. So if a parent calls or a guardian calls the school and notifies them of a positive case or a student that needs to quarantine due to direct contact, their name, positive date, and any known close contacts within the school system that we need to notify are documented at that time. If possible, we tell them at that point the child's return to school date. Each school has a different process that they do. The high school principal secretary emails the student's teacher with the return to school date so that they can post assignments in Google Classroom. They're more independent with doing this. And then at the middle schools, the school nurse emails the teacher and tells them their return date so they can make sure their assignments are posted. And the elementary, the principals and the nurses share that role to relay the information to the teachers. On our spreadsheets, the date in which the absence starts as well as the return dates they never change unless the parent calls back and says that the student is still having symptoms, and at that time we give them more days for excused absence. These are the dates that I use when counting the number of positive cases and those in quarantine. As the quarantine ends for either positive or close contact, those names are removed from the count at that time. And I stop my counts on Friday at 3 p.m. The second full week of school, that's what I was showing you. That was our spike in the positive cases. And since then, Dr. Kelly and I, we look at daily numbers instead of just weekly to make sure that we're not seeing a huge spike again like we did at that time. During the second week of school, after the spike, I sent some guidelines to the principals so that they could use their judgment if they needed to quarantine a classroom in the elementary levels. For the pre-K, because of their age, we are guided to quarantine a whole class if one student tests positive, and they were at school within those 24 to 48 hours. If it's kindergarten through 5th grade, because of the age, we call it a cluster, which is 2 or more positive cases, and that's if a teacher or staff member in the classroom and a student tests positive within the 14 days, then we do guide them to quarantine for the 10 days of the last time that the positive was at school. One of the questions that I've gotten is, why don't the local doctors or the local health department share numbers with the school system? And the easiest way I can explain it to you, HIPAA protects the patient from having their information shared with anyone other than their healthcare provider. The numbers of positive cases that are seen in the local physician's office or the local health department are posted on the Wayne County or the Department of Public Health website, but a testing site has 7 days to report that test. So if you test positive on Monday, it may be the next Monday before they turn it in to the Department of Public Health. And then at the Department of Public Health, they have to manually key in. Like if they got 300 test results, they have to manually key in. So their data is not real-time data. Where ours, I feel like, is, because we're getting the calls, and as soon as we get the calls, the nurse puts the information in, and I can see it instantly because it's on the Google spreadsheet. Now, we are depending on the public to call in and tell us if it's a positive case or if they were a close contact. But as far as accuracy, at that, real-time accuracy, that's what we use. And I've contacted Liberty County head nurse and Glenn County and Camden County, and that is exactly how they do it as well. You can call the Department of Public Health hotline, but you're going to get the same information that you're getting on the website as far as how many positive cases were in the community. Meaning they may have tested in Wayne County, but they may live in Long County or Brantley County. And so it's not as accurate as our school system numbers are if the parents continue to call in these positive test results.
For instance, our college kids still have Wayne County residents.
Correct.
I know some of them have returned home for quarantine time, but they were not here when they got
Right.
but they're on our campus.
True,
And I
yes.
started looking at that because I personally have kids that I'm still connected with who are in college that are back home for quarantine because the college said they had to go home. But when I started realizing, I was like, wait a minute, they're still on our campus.
They are on
Yeah, but if they're here, they're positive in our community.
Right.
Yeah.
But they got sent here. They didn't, it's because the colleges are,
Right.
when they test positive at college, they send them home for
Yeah.
14 days.
Which is their home residence. I do have a question. I do have a question. It's probably not your question, Ms. Armstrong. You were saying that the doctors don't, really report us because of HIPAA.
They don't report it to the schools, they
Oh,
report
right.
it to the Department of Public Health.
Right. Similar to what the athletes do, is there any way that we could, have parents sign that, that information could be released to, the district nurse? Not quote unquote to the school, but specifically to the district nurse when a student is, positive for that, because I know that they, let us know if the person has tuberculosis, they let us know if the person has, generally chickenpox and, those type of things. So I'm just wondering if that could possibly be an option. I know that's a big question.
Yeah, that would probably require some research. I do know that, asking things of the private providers and of the DPH is a little, I don't want to say tricky, but it's a little difficult to navigate. I mean, at one point, they were even asking us not to require a documentation of a positive test because they were so busy, they didn't want people coming back into their offices and stuff. So that's something we can research, but I don't have an answer to that right now.
Yeah, because the parent has given me permission, without permission, to give me information about one of my athletes, returning, that they can talk to me, at the time I was here.
I
So
think
that's why I was just
yeah,
asking.
I know one of the doctors I spoke with, he puts on the parents, you need to call the school and let them know that your student will not be in school until this date. And so even if they don't say the student is positive, if they don't want to tell us that they're positive, we'll put them in quarantine on the spreadsheet and count those as in quarantine. And like I said, we try to give them the return date the first time we talk to them, so we don't have to, return the phone calls and stuff like that. And so, when their return date is posted on the spreadsheet, that's when I stop my count on their last day, the next day coming on. So that was the question that a lot of people have is, are you taking the positives off on time? I mean, I look at it, I feel like 5 times a day. So, yeah, I look at those return dates.
Okay.
Ms. Armstrong, it seems like last year, the Department of Public Health had more communication or more involved in the reporting to us last year. Just because I remember even the letterheads were a lot different. I mean, they were actually dealing more with the school district, mainly because
So we can, each school system, I don't know if you remember, but they gave the school districts the right to make the decisions. They put it on the school. And so because the mask mandate, they do require or ask that you do the mask. And so because we don't do mask, we're not following their guidelines down to the, so I do not use their letterhead.
Okay.
Since we are not, because you can't really tell if it's a close contact. Like if a parent calls and says, was that close contact in my classroom? We can't, we might not say, in elementary school, we make that phone call and say, there was a close contact, or there was a positive case in the class, we're going to shut it down. But at the middle and high school, it's hard because they change classes so many times. So we just do a general Kinbo message, there was a positive case in your school, please observe your student for any symptoms at that time. So it was more, we followed the guidelines because we were mask mandated last year and not this year.
I know Miss Stacy Drew, who's one of our, she meets with us every Friday, and she talked about the numbers and how they are reported in doctors' offices. have a time period to report it.
Right.
And so as I shared with Coach Mack, some days me and him would be all excited. We get on our little app and we see 0 cases. We like, yes, moving in the right direction. And tomorrow we got 155.
Right.
And before she told us that, it tricked me because I was like, there's no way it was 0 cases reported.
No, and like I said, a person is manually putting those numbers.
Yes, and that's what, so, they're taking, the private businesses, the
Right.
people who are doing these rapid tests, and then the doctor's offices, the hospital. It's a whole lot of numbers coming from a lot of different places. Some of these are directly uploaded if they have the computer software program, and then some of them are faxed in or.
And that's what we do. So every time, and Wayne County is one of, and I've talked to the 3 other county lead nurses. We are still faxing in every time we have a positive case to DPH, where the other ones, they're not doing that this year. It is a lot of work. But the school nurses are able to help me, and every time a parent calls in, we fill out the form, fax it in to DPH, and then our epidemiologist contacts us at the end of the week that they received all of our numbers. And at that time, that's when they make sure that they have the same names that we have.
And I'll say, I really commend the work that you and the nurses are doing to get us this accurate data. Because I did learn that there are school districts who are not tracking
Correct.
this because it's too much work.
It is a lot of work.
So I feel encouraged that we are not doing what people saying, messing up the numbers and all that. We're reporting the data as we receive it and when we are notified, and getting it to our best of our ability as a school district. We're putting that information out and making a decision that falls in line with our protocol. And I feel really good about it.
Yeah.
So, appreciate it.
Thank you.
I have one more question. You mentioned that the different schools do their reporting to the parents in different methods and different ways. And I was wondering, I guess this is not a Ms. Armstrong question either, really. Should we not be doing this in a more uniform way that each school is actually mirroring each other as a district?
Are you talking about with the teacher?
Yeah, with the teachers.
It's just because the size of the school. So the school nurse doesn't have, she sees, I think she saw like 70 a day, that second week of school, 70 students a day.
Right.
And so she didn't have time to call or notify each teacher, so the secretary helped her with that. So they're doing the same thing, it's just who's doing it.
Okay, so the teacher is,
All the teachers are notified, it's just by different people, depending on who has the time to do it. They know who's supposed to be doing it. Like
when you say notifies the parents, how do we?
at the elementary school, the principal and assistant principal share that role. And then principals at the middle and high school.
Okay, so that part is, that's what I was
that's
asking about.
yes,
Okay, I was trying to.
It's mainly the teachers, like who's telling the teacher the student will be out for 10 days.
I got it.
Just so that they make sure that they have their assignments posted on Google Classroom.
Okay, okay, I see now, so it is pretty, it's consistent.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
The next thing is we did offer a COVID vaccine opportunity for all the Wayne County school system employees yesterday at the high school. Stacey Drew came and one of her nurses, and we held that. We had, it was a pretty good turnout, and they will have to go to the health department to get their second vaccine just because of their scheduling, and it'll be flu season and stuff like that, but that was a good opportunity. And then next week, we will start the COVID rapid test that will be available for Wayne County school system employees. It will be no charge on Tuesdays and Fridays from 8 to 11:30. And I'll put some information out to the school systems through email, but they just have to email me, tell me that they are having symptoms, and then I can send it looks like a little receipt to Stacey Drew to make sure, so that she knows that they're coming. But I think that's a good opportunity for the employees. If they are experiencing symptoms, they can just call me or email me and let me know, and I can get an appointment set up.
Ms. Armstrong? Probably not available, but do you have any idea what percentage our staff are vaccinated?
I do not. I don't know.
No, our county's increasing it.
It is. I will look at, I'll see if I can get that information. We did get some people yesterday that were, I didn't think we would, but we did. They didn't show up, so I think they're comfortable coming into the schools instead of having to go to a doctor's office or the health department.
Is that for the vaccination?
Vaccination. I think that's all that I have, unless you have any questions.
I just want to go back to when you were talking about the Department of Public Health. They have some guidelines. I think the board really needs to look at some of that, Dr. Kelly, to see how we can strengthen our protocols to be in a little alignment with that, simply because we're all not wanting to travel down the road of shutting down. We all experience how going to that protocol really caused a lot of uncertainty as to if we're ever going to open back up. And yes, we are. We're not going to stay shut down until the end of life. But I think it's a good opportunity for us to look at their protocols, along with the CDC protocol, and see how we can make our protocol a little more stricter to keep us from going there. I just think that's where we're at. I'm not sold on doing that today because we just don't have enough time, but we do have a couple of days that maybe Dr. Kelly, you can send us some information and we prepare for next Tuesday to really look at that protocol and revise it to give us more protection into the protocol. And that's just kind of where I feel after listening to the things that you're saying, and also having some conversations with other school districts and seeing what they're not doing. We're far ahead of where other school districts are at. And I know that we are still seeing some high numbers in our county, but I think it kind of helps me have some type of comfort, because I know when we opened up school last year, it was a surge, it was high numbers, but as school set in, we started seeing, less problems and issues with kids being in school. We did see some, we saw some spikes, when we went out for November, when we came back from Christmas break. But as far as regular school time, with no major holiday breaks, we didn't see a high rise in numbers.
Yeah, I'm interested to see now that we don't have a break until Thanksgiving, I think, if we stay on hybrid for a while, to see how the numbers are reflected with that, with having less students in school and on the bus and things like that. But I think we need to give it more time to look at that data.
I was talking to a teacher in neighboring county. They're doing a hybrid model. It took close to 2 weeks, but the hybrid is really increased their numbers tremendously.
I hope that it's going to keep our numbers down.
So we're not gonna, discuss, doing anything with the mask at this time. The reason why I'm asking is because I've had several people reach out to me and say that, just put it out there, so that they're not gonna send their kids to school because they, still, even though they're going hybrid, they still don't feel comfortable because of the numbers and the way it's affecting the youth population with the Delta variants. It's real. That's just what people have reached out and actually said. In fact, I had one grandmother that was on the phone with me for almost 30 minutes, about it and everything, and how it kind of has impacted their family, and was very concerned about it. And did inform me that we will be discussing some things this morning and some protocols that at this time that we were not able to do it because of today's date. Coming back today.
Well, I think as a board, we certainly have those conversations. I don't know that necessarily involves Ms. Armstrong.
Correct, yeah,
You
yeah.
know, I will tell you, I wanted to say that, Ms. Armstrong and her nurses and the people that they work with are just exceptional. I mean, they are rock stars. The amount of work they do, the amount of care they give our kids and our staff is just incredible. You know, nothing is really left to chance, and I don't know what the varied opinions are, but, you know, to be honest with you, other than making decisions about where we fall in the protocols, I basically do what Ms. Armstrong suggests when it comes to quarantining, and really I don't get involved in that when you know, Ms. Armstrong and the nurses decide that a person or a class needs to be quarantined. I mean, I'm not involved. I just say yes, ma'am. And you know, they're the experts. They're the ones that have the knowledge and education. I do want folks to know that, you know, we don't take this or anything else lightly. You know, every positive case or close contact, I mean, they work with the Department of Public Health and get their guidance, and you know, and I think in every case, if not every case, you know, there may be more to exceptions. I don't think there is, but you know, we basically do what DPH tells us to do when it comes to quarantining and those kind of things. And so, you know, I want to say that they, you know, their performance has been, you know, exceptional, and you know, that we are managing this as best we can and working with health professionals and things. And Ms. Armstrong and I talk, you know, daily, most days, multiple times, and you know, we're working to get through it. And you know, there's certainly probably additional mitigating factors that we can put into the protocols, and we'll get those things together and we can discuss them this morning, however you guys want to. But I just wanted to make sure that Ms. Armstrong and her folks know how much we appreciate what they're doing. It's a lot of hard work, and they're taking very good care of our folks.
Well, I just mentioned that because, you know, you mentioned about the Department of Health and the reason why we don't use their, what do you call it?
Letterhead.
Yeah, the letterhead.
And I still call them, usually daily, but
Mhm.
sometimes more than that. There's an epidemiologist that is just devoted to our district. So if there's a question that I have, so far, hopefully it'll continue, but we've not had what's called an outbreak where there's been more than 2 positive cases in one small setting that we're aware of in the school system. But when I do have a question, or it's a team, and I have to call and tell them that there's 2 players that are positive, they give me the guidance so that I can, you know, I always say the Department of Public Health.
Dr. Kelly,
Yes, ma'am.
I can tell you that lady right there is an awesome nurse. But I recall teaching just elementary, going up there, and my blood pressure was a little high, and I don't have high blood pressure. She says, "You see the doctor?" I said, "Well, I'll go later." She picks up the phone and says, "Hey, Sandy, Sharon Dagan will be there in about 30 minutes." And so, and all of our nurses pretty much that I've worked with they take great care, not just of our students, they take care of our teachers as well. Y'all spoiled me rotten, I'm telling you that now.
They do, and they love, all the nurses that I work with, they love their job, and they have not complained one time about having to stay. First 3 weeks, I mean, they were there, some of them till 6:30, 7 o'clock at night, trying to get the numbers in. So I just want everybody to know, we do take a lot of consideration into the numbers, making sure that they're as accurate as we know that they are.
Thank you for everything you do for us.
And we don't argue with Ms. Armstrong and them. You know, they're in their job, they're the professionals, and we don't tolerate anybody else messing with them either. And so, you know, their interest, their main focus is what's best for our kids and our staff and people in our buildings. And so, you know, most time when she says something, I just say, yes, ma'am, and figure out how to deliver the message, you know, or what decision needs to be made. Thank you, Ms.
If we were going to promote something today, vaccination,
Yes.
we meet on Fridays, Chairman Ellis, Superintendent Kelly, and myself, County, City, help people with severe interest. Richard Johnson, Peter Keys, Joe Irati released this to us and asking us for the confidential reason of the public. For 8/1 through 8/31, 100% of COVID deaths at Wayne Memorial Hospital have been from unvaccinated people, 100% of patients on ventilators. unvaccinated people. 94% of admissions for COVID is unvaccinated people. So I was gonna push something today and ignore, asking everybody to give a serious consideration for vaccination.
Yes, sir. Every time we've had an opportunity in the public, we put it on, Dr. Burgess has put it on email, or, we try to let people know the opportunities. And like yesterday with the vaccine opportunity, that was the first time that we brought it to the schools to see how many would help. It was helpful, so, yeah.
We appreciate
Has any
what's
questions,
going
I
on.
don't mind talking to them about their fears of the vaccine.
I learned one other thing, I was gonna go to court against the student nurse. Y'all document everything. Thank you.
Thank you.
As far as the COVID update, Mr. Chairman and board members, that's really all I have. Like I said, we're entering back into hybrid today. Letters, L through Z will be today and tomorrow. We'll start back with A through K Monday and Tuesday. I'm hearing good things about the hybrid. We're getting kids back in school, even for a couple of days a week. Teachers enjoy it. We've had some positive comments from parents. Obviously it's not as ideal as being there 5 days a week, but considering the current situation, it's probably, to me, the most prudent thing to do. And like I said, my desire is to stay there for a while and to give, our schools and our community an opportunity to, cool down a little bit, and it still allows us to go to school. It allows us to do some, distance things to enrich what we're doing in the schools. And so that's my focus right now as far as our current model. And then we can also discuss and add additional mitigations or things as we need to or as you desire.
So what steps would need to be taken to actually add the mitigating factor in for masks?
The only thing that is required would be action by the board to either rescind the vote to remove the mask mandate, or to take action that allows some other form of action requiring masks that would then supersede the previous vote. So as of right now, the board has took action to remove the mask mandate that does not allow me to enter into the protocols. So that would be what would need to take place. And it can be in many different forms. You can rescind the vote to remove the mask mandate and just give me the authority to put it in there as needed, or you can be more specific with your action, determine, yes, we will, or we will do it this day, we'll do it in these certain circumstances or parameters. So, but it would take action right now for a mask, to require masks.
Well, I would like to make a motion to rescind the mask mandate removal and giving the superintendent and his staff the authority to require masks as needed.
It's not only
Oh, I know it's not good. And one of the reasons why is because, like I said, as I sat there and listened to Ms. Armstrong tell us that the reason why we cannot use the Department of Health's letterhead is because we are not implementing their guidelines completely as required by the Department of Health.
Well, we haven't had an opportunity to review the guidelines.
And I want to say,
I asked the superintendent to allow us an opportunity to get those guidelines so that we can collectively look at them and decide what we want to do for our district. And that's just, I don't want to do anything until I see them personally. With respect to two people who definitely are in favor of doing some different things, protocols. They're not here and they're not able to get in with us. And I certainly don't want to be making any decisions as a board without them being notified. I don't at this moment.
I'll be honest with you, I told everything just like you all have. And, I told some administrators yesterday, it's pretty well split. I don't want to bring church into all this, but Adam and Eve had the right to make choices. We all have the right to make choices. The vaccinate, personally, I wish everybody get vaccinated. But like I told some people, we've got young female as a large part of our employees. Their concerns is for hospital newborn babies. I'm almost there, Ms. Daniel, but I'm not to the point that I'm ready to move today. So I'm kind of like Chairman Ellis, Dr. Kelly's gonna give us some information. The other two members, hopefully we'll be back there to take precautionary measures. And we may be close, but I'm not there yet.
Well, the last thing that I think I'm gonna say is I'm gonna, give this example dealing with, free choice. And I've always said that when we're talking about choice and with our kids, you know, you're not in a bubble. You know, parents have to make a choice about what's best for their child. But in this instance, in the school system, we've got everybody's children. So it's not just about that one child, it's about all children. When it comes down to our governmental laws, you know, we have a right to free speech. But if I go down to the Strand Cinema and I decide to exercise my right to free speech and I just start yelling fire, 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 and there's no fire, that's against the law. You got the same situations with, you know, kids that may decide, or parents may decide they send their kids to school who are knowingly infected, but there's no law against it. So the only thing we can do is do what we feel like is the next best thing to protect those kids from the yellow fire without, you know, really harming anybody. I just wanted to put that out there. That's just where you kind of, I visualize and I see it. It's that, you know, everybody talks about the right to freedom, but you just don't have the freedom to just, you know, neglect others.
And Ms. Daniel, I respect what you're saying. I think you bring up good points. What I have a problem and struggling with is we have asked and we have mandated, and outside of enforcing people physically put on masks, that's where I feel we would be. As a community, if we did that countywide mask mandate, law enforcement would spend necessary hours riding around policing people with masks. I feel like that's a thing that we're going to encounter in the school district, which is a little disheartening. Because I know that we need to put some protective things, but I definitely want to make that decision as a collective body, as we have been doing for the last couple of weeks. We have been discussing these things as a board and making these decisions. And I stand on, I want our other two members to be notified of such motion that will affect them as board members as well. If they were here on Teams, I probably would consider moving forward, but they're not. What I am wanting people to do is use common sense protocols. The masks, are available. People need to wear them. Teachers, students, parents need to make sure that they tell their students to wear them. And they might not wear them every 5 minutes of the day, but them encouraging it. Because again, we make a mask mandate in the school district, we're the only people that's gonna have a mandate. Because everywhere else you go, people are doing whatever they feel is best for them. The grocery stores, Some churches have masks required, some churches don't. There are some people in churches who see masks required on the church door and they don't wear them. And I attended some funeral services where masks were required, and some people said they ain't wearing them still. They didn't care about the funeral protocols. So that's where I'm at on this. I certainly know we have to tighten up our protocols and want us to tighten up our protocols, but I also want people to do what are common sense measures to help protect themselves. Get vaccinated, wear masks when they are in large groups of people. I like how our hybrid protocols are set, where we have half of the kids going at the beginning of the week, half of the kids going at the end of the week. Gives an opportunity for teachers to spread kids out. But even at that, parents need to tell their kids to wear their masks. I'm telling mine every single day, and I know they don't wear them all the time, but I do preach it and I do tell them. My youngest had a little issue, and I had a conversation with her about her mask, and she actually started crying and said, "Well, Daddy, I just wanted to take it off and get some air." I said, "Well, that was a close call. You took it off and you could have been, exposed, but we'll deal with that." I think right now I want Dr. Kelly to get us this information from the Department of Public Health. We do have a meeting with our community leaders on tomorrow. Ms. Drew will be there, and I feel an opportunity to speak with her about it. And I want us to get these protocols from the CDC, because I am concerned about us getting to a place where we're not able to control what's going on without extra protocols in place, and to keep us going to a place where we are at distance and virtual learning and having to stop our extracurricular activities. We've heard some of the students talk about whatever we need to do, we're going to do it. And so that's why I want us to have the information, because when we put it out there, I want everybody to be informed. This is what we're doing. Whatever we need to do to keep from being here. But we just don't have that information in front of us. I know it's available online, but I haven't read it. Outside of what Dr. Kelly has provided me and outside of what I've learned in the community leaders meeting, that is what I've made all of my decisions on at this current time. I'm listening to Mr. Johnson, I'm listening to Mr. O'Reilly, I'm listening to Stacey Drew, and what Dr. Kelly and Ms. Armstrong put it before us. And that's what I'm making my decision based off of today, is what these individuals who are charged with the responsibility has provided me.
I do want to share another thing that one of the parents called me and mentioned about was asking about a virtual option for students, right? And I thought they were going to ask for a virtual option for their student because they want their students to wear masks. But that's not what that parent said. That parent said just the opposite of what those people said when they came here. Said, well, we got those people who don't want to wear masks. Let's let them stay home and be virtual so they don't infect other kids. Or, that was the words of the parent, not necessarily the kids are infected, but they were saying if those kids don't want to wear masks, well, why don't we let them stay home? So you got that same attitude that the other ones had about, well, if this one doesn't feel comfortable coming, let them stay home. Well, the person with the one with masks is, well, why should my child feel like be punished because they want to follow your protocol that you put in place? So I just wanted to share that you have people out there who they're having those dialogues and they're thinking that way. So, and it's pretty much like Mr. Junker Pittman said, it's pretty much half and half. It's the same thing with staff. I've had staff members reach out to me as well, that are in my district, and it's pretty much half and half. But our responsibility is primarily to ensure that not only our staff, but our students are in a safe educational environment. So, but and we can agree to disagree. That's the beauty of the world. And we're always okay.
Since the beginning of this pandemic, one of my key jobs has been dealing with the COVID protocols, not only for the city and county, but as a commander in the police department, and we're challenged to go in and out of people's residence and deal with them. We don't know who's exposed, but that's a decision I tell the officers. You need to do what you think is necessary to protect yourself. We also encourage people to get vaccines. We provide masks. We got mask opportunities. And there are some people who just don't want to do it. But that the potential is that you're going to have to deal with somebody at one point, any time of the day, that possibly has COVID-19. So I think, again, our teachers should not have to wait on us to put in a mask mandate. If they know these are things that are going to protect them right now without a mask mandate, and they have an opportunity to get the vaccine, they choose not to get the vaccine, then they need to do what's best to protect them without that mandate. It just bothers me that we have to be in an enforcement environment to make people protect themselves. That is what bothers me. I wear a mask when I feel I need to wear it. I'm not wearing them now because I'm in my own space, and I choose not to wear them. It's a small group. But I do wear them when I go to different places because I know that the potential is there. The potential could be here this morning, but this is a chance that I'm taking. And at this point, I'm not ready to move forward without our board members here, and without giving them information that I need. Because again, I've made my decisions, things based off of the information that I was told directly from the people who are the executive officers of the organizations. Not the media, not what parents come up here and say, not what students say, but I'm making decisions based off of executive officers of organizations providing me the information. That's what I'm going to go by until then. I appreciate the parents and students sharing their concerns. I'm listening. I'm reading emails, reading text messages. I value that, but we're charged with the responsibility to meet with these individuals and depend on them to provide us with the data. I don't have time to calculate data every day, and I'm not going to. That's what we are depending on our health officials to give us data. There are some people that are calculating data, but I don't know how they have time to do it because I don't have time.
Mr. Ellis, marinate on this one for me. We require students to wear closed-toe shoes. Did you know that? And we don't allow the kids to wear flip-flops.
We don't. They wear them.
So they're not supposed to be. They're supposed to wear closed-toe shoes. That's what somebody mentioned that you got the hand. You got those parents that actually read, everything. They have to wear certain type of shirts. And that's why I don't like calling it a mandate. It's like a requirement, rather than quote unquote a mandate. Mandate make it sound too close together. And I think that's where people get a little upset rather than acquire or require,
Just one other thing, Coach, or the board, there was a desire expressed at the last meeting or the one before that to make sure that we had masks available in all classrooms.
Mhm.
And from the best of my knowledge, the report to me that was completed yesterday. So there are some in every classroom.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Move on.
All right. I didn't need the hour. I just extended it out. Well, at this time, we will take a break and get ready to transition to our board retreat.
Breakfast is ready.
All right.
It is.